Hello everybody. This is Debbie at Debbie J's Crafting Corner, and I am so happy that you guys are here with me. And tonight I think I'm going to try something a little bit different, and you can let me know if it's something that you're interested in. First, I do want to say hello to Miss TR and to Miss Wendy, who are already sitting here in the chat, and we're going to wait a couple of minutes to see, who else drops in pretty quick. I want to know from you guys, would you rather do, I'm thinking of doing something Valentine or Galentine, kind of do something like that. And what I've done so far today is I made this little Memorydex card. I don't know if you're familiar with Memorydex or not, but that's what this one is. And then I started on a card, and anyway, just want to know, have you guys worked with sorry, have you guys worked with Memorydex cards, and is that something that you're interested in learning a little bit more about? And hello, Miss Carmen, I see that you've dropped in. So I guess I'll go ahead and talk a little bit about Memorydex cards. So that's what this one is, and the way you can tell that it is just at the bottom it's got what looks like the old Rolodex. The way that it would fit into. Well, I am so excited that I've got Ryan here. I watched too many of your videos, Ryan. I think you know that already. But anyway, for a Memorydex card, it's got this little piece down at the bottom with a couple of notches out. So Memorydex cards they're kind of like regular cards where you'd send them to somebody, but then someone would put this cute decorated thing into kind of a Memorydex or Rolodex type of holder, and they can keep track of all those. Now, what I think would be cool would be to have information on the back, who you are, a little bit about yourself, and that sort of thing. And I'm thinking about doing a Memorydex swap over in my group at some point coming up. If you're not already a member of my Facebook group, Crafting with Debbie, I would like to invite you to go ahead and join that. I did go ahead and put up some new swaps up there today, so if you are in my group, make sure that you sign up for those. So I thought I'd do some of that, and I'm also going to go ahead and use some of the scrapbook paper. I think I've told you guys, I've got tons and tons and tons of this stuff. This is a pack that I bought last year and didn't use until a couple of days ago. I was doing a video for a swap doing a video for a hop that's coming up in a couple of days, and I got into this one. I hadn't opened it up or anything, and I've got about 2 or 3 different ones I bought last year, and I have not used them. I'm really bad about that, guys. I don't know if you are the same or not, where you buy all this stuff and you don't use it. And so I am still on that kick where I want to get all of my stuff used, if at all possible. I'm turning off the autofocus because it was giving me issues a couple of days ago. Okay. So this is just a paper pack that I bought last year from Michael's because it's got pretty papers and stuff, and it was for Valentine's Day. And there are a lot of different patterns and everything in here. And that, I have to say, is one of the neat things about doing Memorydex type of cards. You can do those with basically anything you have. You can do ATC size. You can do there are stamps and dies, there are dies that you can get for that, but what I'm using, and I love this, is from Heidi Swapp. Also, Heidi Swapp, I think, was the one who started this whole thing. But this is a punch so that you can punch any papers into that size. And I did some partial die cutting to get this piece done in the heart shape that I wanted. And if you guys want to see that, I'll go ahead and put together another one of those. But first off, I'm just going to pick out some pretty papers, see what I can find in here that I think would go good for a Memorydex card. And you guys let me know if you would like to do a Memorydex card swap. because I would be happy to send one off to you. Just leave that down in the comments after the video so that... Okay, oh, a bunch more people have just popped in. So hello, Miss Wendy and Susie. And I believe I already said hello to TR. And the standard size for a Memorydex card is pretty much 4x4. So these would not be, you could use part of it, but you couldn't use the whole thing because it won't really fit in a Memorydex holder. And let me see if I can find a picture of a Memorydex holder real quick. Then I can show you what I'm talking about. I was so excited when I saw that the Memorydex spinner came out recently, and they have it in pink on scrapbook.com, but I want mine in teal, and I don't see any of them like that. So let's see if I can get a picture of this up for you. So this is too big and not fitting on the screen right. That is a spinner. So your card would basically fit in with those two grooves. That's where the holes would go, and then you would basically, I just think this is pretty. I want one in teal though. Okay, so back over to us. So all of those are basically the size of about 4x4. And you guys probably know by now that I pretty much do seat of my pants kind of crafting. I don't know for sure what I'm going to do until I get busy doing it. So I like this paper, and I think that would be good for that kind of size. So I'm going to go ahead and get my paper trimmer out. And this one is too big, of course, for me to be able to use this little paper trimmer, so I'm going to cut some of this off and then trim it down. And I think that would look real cute with it being with a partial die cut too. So I'm going to cut this a little bit bigger than the 4x4. Just so I can get that pretty heart. And the heart dies that I'm using are from Darice. This is the Nesting Heart die set. So I'm going to go ahead and grab out that biggest one. And then I'll run that through my Gemini Junior. Like I usually do with my magic mat. This time at least I remember to go ahead and flatten that back out. And I think I want to do it a little bit off to the side like that. So this piece I'm going to go ahead and do solid. And then I'm going to do a couple of backing pieces where I'm going to do some partial die cutting so I can have space for the punch at the bottom. So Carmen, you use an old Rolodex? What I did is I wound up just making a box for mine. This was a couple of years ago, and I was so excited when I saw that the spinner came out. But they just released it again, like I said, in pink, and I want mine to be in teal. You know, this color. This is what I like. I like the teal color. So I'm going to use some 110 pound cardstock. I think I'm going to go ahead and do 2 layers of that. And then this was the first time I've tried doing partial die cutting, and definitely first time I did it on using my Gemini Junior because I wasn't sure if it was going to work. So what I'm doing is, the way that I did it is I went ahead and put my die in place, and my washi tape is hiding again as usual. And then I just taped it down so it would stay in place. And since my tape does have a tendency to try to rip the paper, probably because the pressure on my Gemini Junior is so good, try not to have it on the part that I want to actually use. Then I'm going to slide this down a little bit on my platform. Then I just basically lined it up where I want it to stop and ran it through my Gemini Junior. Now I wasn't sure how that was going to work since I'm only putting part of it in, but it worked out great on my previous attempt. So I'll go ahead and run that through. Okay, and one thing I had forgotten is I need to run this end in first, because otherwise I can't get the thing to go in there. Let me get this straight. This is one of the nice things about the Magic Mat. That grid definitely makes it so you know that you've got everything lined up right. And I've got it in there straight, so it should make a straight line across. Well, it's almost straight. I already knocked it out of whack. Okay, here we go. Okay. Then when I take my die off, see that it's not cut all the way, and that is exactly what I wanted. So now I'm just going to trim off the excess on the sides. And if you want to be more precise, you can always draw a line on there so you know exactly where you're working. And then because I wanted, I didn't like the sharp edges there, I'm going to go ahead and use my corner rounder to do these ones up at the top. And then I'm going to trim this down a bit because now it is much bigger than the 4 inches I was telling you about. So now I'm going to trim it down to about 4 inches. And use my corner chomper on those. That's a little crooked. Let me trim that a little bit more. There we go. And then I will round these other edges. And then I'm going to do basically the same thing on a second piece. This time, because I know exactly where it needs to go, I'll go ahead and tape that in place. I can try to make it exactly as the other one. If it doesn't work out all right, that's fine. I just want to have this piece stronger. This one is only 1 layer, but I do have 2 layers. Actually, I've got 3 layers of cardstock for the top. But okay, that should work there. And Wendy, I'd really love to see your Memorydex box. So if you want to share that over in our Facebook group, that would be awesome. I would love to see that. And this time I am going to use a pencil so I know where the edge is, so I can try to get that straight on there. Yeah, I love my corner rounder too, Ms. TR. You are so right. Okay. So now let's run this through again. So again, I am putting that on my magic mat. I'm going to line up this. First I want it straight. I'm going to line this up right with that line that I just drew. And to make it easier to go into the machine, I pulled the whole thing down a little bit. And then I'm running the long end through first, so it will actually go in there right. Okay. And to be honest, this is probably a more complicated Memorydex card than what I usually make. Can't really say usually because it's been a year or so since the last time I made one. As that one's written on, I'm going to go ahead and just cut these off, trim right. I'm actually going to trim a little bit off from where that line is and then go back and trim it correctly once I put everything kind of together. That way I don't accidentally cut more off than I want to. And just erase that line. And one thing I do like doing is I want to go ahead and try to get to see if it will work with 2 layers through there. I have seen that sometimes if you layer everything up and glue it in place and all of that, I like doing it that way, except that it doesn't always want to, I don't know, sometimes it doesn't want to actually fit into this Memorydex punch. And the lines here are actually, they're 4 inches apart, so if you line your paper up there, you cut your card down to 4 inches. Tiara, I think it is, I haven't been talking while my Gemini Junior is working, but I think the way that the microphone is on this machine right now is that it tries to compensate for that background noise, so it's possible that it could be making the sound go in and out. So I apologize if it's doing that. And it looks like I did trim that a little bit shorter than I needed to, but I'm going to go ahead and line this up with the edge of the one in front because that's where I want it. And it actually went through with both of them, so that's nice. So now when I glue everything together, I can just line them up with those notches, which I'm going to go ahead and do now. And for this, you can use any kind of adhesive that you want, but since it does go into one of those Memorydex Memorydex holders and you flip through it, I'd rather have it adhere really well. So I'm going to go ahead and just adhere it all down with some art glitter glue. To the edge over there too. Okay. I think I do have this off just a bit, but probably because I did so easy. It was so easy the first time around. I'm kind of rushing through it the second time around. I do apologize for that, guys. Okay, and then use my corner rounder on this side. Okay, so that one looks good. This one is not wanting to trim back, but that's okay. Okay, so we've basically got our our card base. And then I'm going to put this guy in the middle there, just because I think he is just too cute. That is some pretty paper. It makes me want some chocolate. Those look like some cute little cookies. Then I think what I'm going to do with this next, I think this red really is a nice contrast. So I think I'm going to cut out a couple of smaller hearts out of this to go on the front of that. And I think I'm going to also do one in white. And this one was fairly simple. I made this background. I was playing with one of my I was playing around with some of the gel mediums that I've got and mixed it in with some Dollar Tree paint, and it turned out real cool. And I really like the way that this background turned out. And then I added some foil to it and it actually took, and that was kind of neat. But I thought, you know, that would really look cute on this. So on this one, it was real simple. It was just the background and then a white heart with a sentiment on there. And then I just added a few of the little hearts that I've got left over from all that stuff I got from Target a year ago. And this piece is not big enough to have the white. Another thing you can do is, as you're trying to decide what you're going to do, just put your dies on there and see how it looks. I think that's... Yeah, I think I want the smaller one. I think I'll do this size one in white, and then the other one, this other tiny one, I will do in that dark red. Okay. Oh, that's going to be cute. So for this one, I'm going to put this pretty little white part right in the center. It's my reverse tweezers so I can get that perfect placement. And then this red one, put right in the middle of that. And then here are all those heart sequins that I've been using a bunch. And this was real cheap. I think it's like maybe $3 maybe. I picked that one up at Target last year in the dollar spot. So I'm going to add a few little hearts on here. And then before sending it out to anyone, I can, write a little message on the back, like with my name, when I made it, that sort of thing. But I think that one turned out pretty cute. And these you can be as elaborate or as simple as you want. I have seen them have tons of stuff attached. So This one is really pretty simple, and it only took a few minutes to make. Now, another way that you can do these, like I said, they are really easy, would be just to cut some 4x4 paper. And let me get some heavyweight cardstock. I like making mine with heavyweight cardstock because I do want it to stand up. I don't want it to, you know, come apart, or I want it to feel substantial. I guess that's a better word for it. So what I've done in the past is I have just cut some 4x4 panels. Make sure that's straight. Looks like this edge is not quite straight. That's close enough. And then just put it in here. And as I mentioned, those lines are right at the 4-inch mark. So this is all ready to start decorating. Now you can make it look more like a index card Rolodex type of thing, and add some little, you know, like a file folder edge. So I've got my envelope punch board, and I can put one on the end there, and then add one. I'll do that one at about 2.5 inches. So you can have like tabbed ones. It's a little bit off. Change that just a touch. So this kind of looks like what you would have found in the old Rolodexes, where it's got the little folder, the file folder tab up at the top, and then you can decorate it up any way you want to. Since we're doing Valentine's Day, I think I think that's gonna look kind of cute. I'll go ahead and decorate this one with this heart paper that I used on a different card before. So since I know what size that is, I'm gonna go ahead and cut it down to 4 inches wide. And for this one, it's not quite tall enough, so I'm gonna go just above where those ridges are. So let me go ahead and mark it on the back so I know how tall I need to make it. So I can adhere it there. I'm going to do that before I do these pieces because I want it to line up real well. And I know that that paper will go through my envelope punch board without a problem. And I'm going to go ahead and show you what I'm seeing here too. I've already got this little notch cut out, so you can already see that, as well as on this side. So when I put it in here, if I tilt it just right, you can see that the metal piece, that silver piece in there, is going to be lined up with where I've already punched. So that way I can get it punched in exactly the same spot. And then I'll do the same thing on this side. And then trim it down. This one's going to be a little bit more difficult to trim. Now, I'm just using scissors instead of the paper trimmer. There we go. think I'm going to do something similar to that. This was just a card panel that I was messing around with a little earlier today. And I think I'm going to do the same kind of thing, but have it for this. So first I need to make sure that my card panel is 4x4. Or rather, 3x4. So that is a little over 4 inches wide, and then I'll go with 3 inches high. And I can always trim it down a little bit more when I get done. And then we're going to play with that DIY sticky grid that I showed you guys how I made this weekend. If you haven't seen that, you need to go ahead and check. Actually, I think I uploaded that yesterday. And for the stamping, what I did on this one, I'm using the Altenew. This is a Stamptember 2020 set that I don't know if you're going to be able to get, but I'm using the stamps from that, and then I'm using this old MFT abstract art. So I didn't actually color any of these. It looks kind of like watercolor, and that's just me messing around with some Catherine Pooler inks and water. So it kind of worked out. So in my DIY sticky grid, I'll just put that in the middle. And since I want to do the colors first, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the stamp off of this and put the paper down so I can see kind of where I want it to go. And then I will put these paint swatches wherever I want them. I've also got a second kind of similar set. This one is from Concord and Ninth. But this one I think was more artsy and had more, I guess, white space between all of the colors. So I figured I would use that. This one, I think I'm going to do it a little bit different than I did the other one. Okay, let's start off with this. So I'm going to start off, I think this time with some of the greens. So I'm basically just putting the stamps down over the places that I want the color to go on my finished project. Then I'm going to also put that on there so I know where the colors need to be. Now let me grab the inks. So this one is going to be the greens. So I'm going to use some Grass Skirt. And the other green that I have, because I don't have a ton, is Deck the Halls. I do have a lighter green, but I don't think I want to use something that light. So as long as I've got this lined up approximately where I want it, I can make sure I'm only inking up the part of the stamp that I want to use for behind those leaves. So it's going to be this end and up in there. And if they overlap some, that's okay. And now because I want a little bit more of a watercolor effect, I'm going to spritz it with a little bit of water. This is not watercolor paper, so I'm not going to use much water on there because I don't want it to really warp it too bad. Then I think I'm going to add just a touch of the Deck the Halls, give it a little bit more texture. Add a little water. Okay. So I do have one more spot for the green. Let me wipe this off, grab a paper towel. Okay, and I do want some green to go. Yeah, I think I'm going to just do it like that. So I just need a little bit of green down at the end. Okay, and I think I am going to add a little bit more there for the other leaf. This time I'll use the Deck the Halls. Okay, bye TR. I hope that she feels better. Or him, sorry. And I will see you later in the group, honey. Okay. So that's got all the greens down. So now I need some color for the flowers. And since this one's going to be Valentine's Day-ish, I think I'm going to just do pinks and reds. So I've got Rockin' Red, and I have got It's a Girl. And this set also has a bunch of these round splotches. So what I wound up doing on that first little samples, I wound up with going multiples with a couple of these. I think I'm going to start off with a little bit of red in the center of these. Let's see, do I have another one that's about that size? Yes. Okay, so there's a little red. And I'm going to use this same one and bring in some of the pink for that guy. Grab another one of these larger stamps for this one. And then put in some It's a Girl. And I know that this looks kind of weird the way I'm doing it, but it does turn out pretty cool in the end. Okay, so this little guy on this end is pretty much done, but these need some more color. I'll go ahead and put some more pink down. Okay, I think I need just a little bit more pink kind of in the middle there. There we go. Okay, that should finish up all of the color. And then all I need to do is put that background, that outline down. Now I can go with this stamp right about there. Oh, that's going to look so cool. And then for this one, I think I'm going to put down the same sentiment I did for the other one. So lucky to have a friend like you, because I really like that sentiment. And although I'm probably not getting them lined up straight on there, I am going to look at them using the grid on my stamp platform to make sure that they're about right. Okay. Now, I did try doing this using just regular Memento Tuxedo Black, but it just didn't want to get me that dark black that I was looking for. So instead, I'm going to just use some VersaFine. Go back over it a second time. And it does look like I didn't quite lay that down quite straight the way I wanted to. But because this has got that kind of artsy, organic look behind it, it's going to be fine like that. I think this turns out really pretty. Let me get some of the ink taken off of these, and then I'll go back later and clean them better. Especially with using the VersaFine, it is such a dark ink that a lot of times it doesn't come off all the way, so you want to make sure you clean your stamps well, otherwise it's going to come off on your next project. Okay. And it is slightly warped, plus the VersaFine is still a bit wet, so I'm going to go ahead and dry that with my Ranger Heat tool. Try to get that dried a little bit. Okay. And then let's see. Yeah, that is going to be pretty, but I do want to trim it down a little bit. And then I think I'm going to round the corners on that as well. So I'm just going to take about a 1/4 inch off of 3 sides. May go back and do a little bit more on the last one. Oh, that's pretty. Then I will glue that on with my art glitter glue. And then I just realized I don't really like these corners being sharp edges either, so I'm going to go ahead and use my corner rounder on all 3 of those as well. So now all that's left for me to do on this one would be to write a little note on the back, or I have considered creating some stickers for these, but I haven't really done enough of them to warrant doing that. And I don't really like that sharp edge either, so I'm going to trim that down as well. And then, of course, we have to add some of those pretty little hearts. So you guys go ahead and let me know in the chat if you've made any Memorydex cards yourself. Like I said, it's been, I don't know, at least a year since the last time I made any. Because I kind of get all wrapped up in card making that I forget about these other things that we can make too. Also, I want to make sure I've got somebody to give it to, and this has been a really, really weird year. When you stay at home, you don't really get to see many of your friends and such, so I have not been giving these out as much as I probably should. I want pink for this one. Oh, red works well too. Tiny pink. And then I think I'll go with gold up here at the top. So yeah, you can make lots of different types of paper projects with all of your card making supplies. I know we tend to stick to card making, but there's a lot of other things that we can make, and I'm just as bad as everybody else. I don't really make them as much. So that's a couple of those. I think that's going to be, I know this is a little bit shorter than what I have been doing. It's only been, what, 45 minutes? But I think I'm going to leave it at that. And I do want to invite you guys to come on over to my Facebook group, Crafting with Debbie. There's a link down below, and join my Facebook group and show me all the cool things that you're creating. Also, I'd love for you to participate in one of the swaps that we're going to be doing over the next couple of months. So go ahead and join us over there, and I will see you later on. Until then, remember that if I can make it, you can too. Thanks, guys. Have a great night. Talk to you later.